Welcome back, Patriots. We have Donald Trump's economy is surging. Things are looking really good. We got SCOTUS weighing in on women's sports and what went wrong in Minnesota. Well, there's a lot to cover today, folks. Hit that like button if you can right when you drop in. If you're listening to this, if you're watching this, it really, really does help support the show. And if you're able to, when this thing's all said and done, leave us a comment. Because these algorithms want to see you engaging with the show, which is weird because y'all chat, right? You're all in there in the chat box, which I absolutely love because I'm always reading it. Good morning to you, Steve. But it doesn't count as engagement, it seems like. So it's a little odd. It's a little weird, but well, that's here nor there. We have Trump's economy just booming right now, which we were told wasn't going to happen. Remember when Donald Trump was elected? Oh, why are not egg prices going down? Why is everything so terrible? Blah, blah, blah. Well, that's weird because Trump's economy is defying experts. Trump's economy is looking a little good here. Nearly 1 year after retaking the presidency, the White House says President Trump's economy and his agenda is beginning to deliver real, measurable results, and the data increasingly backs that up. And what makes this moment so significant isn't just the economy improving, it's who said it wouldn't and how wrong they have been. Now, the predictions that aged poorly. If you recall, when President Donald Trump launched his trade war, the reaction from the political class was immediate and nearly unanimous. Economists, we were all here when it happened, they warned of a collapse. If you recall, the Democrats always have to be the extremists, the ones, losing their lids. They were saying that we were going to go into a recession. Some psychos, and you got to really dig for these ones, though, were saying we're going to go into a depression. Media outlets ran headlines after headlines insisting that tariffs would tank the economy. We all heard this. God, if you were on TikTok listening to these debates, man, these people were going from one end of the spectrum to the other end of the spectrum on saying how the economy is going to tank. You're all going to live miserable lives. You've never seen anything like it. And the consensus here was simple. Higher tariffs would choke growth. GDP would stall. America would pay the price. But for a brief moment, it looked like they might have been right. I'll be honest, I was getting a little scared myself. The Q1 scare is what kind of set off the panic. So at the beginning of 2025, I know we're kind of reaching back, but the U.S. GDP shrank by 0.5 percentage point. And that contraction set off alarm bells across Washington. Everybody's acting like everything was on fire. Cable news panels began openly speculating about a recession. Democrats framed it as, this is proof that Trump's economy instincts were reckless. They were unhinged. They all love that word. They love reckless and using unhinged all the time. What a bunch of idiots. Even some Republicans quietly worried the strategy had gone too far. I was one of them. I don't know if I thought the strategy had gone too far. I always thought there might have been forces that were out of his control, and that as much as he thought this would work, those other forces would take hold. That's where I was at in the game. But here's what most of those conversations miss. That economic transition generally, and this is true, always produces short-term turbulence, especially when a president is actively rewiring his trade relationships. I mean, supply chains were still issues. Industrial policy is a big one. How about regulations, trying to remove the red tape and just allow businesses to flourish? You had the tax stuff going into effect. A lot of uncertainty was going on. That's what I mean about a lot of forces were really at play here. Not to mention, you had a prior administration dumping trillions of dollars into the economy, causing inflation to happen. You had 9.1% inflation, record high. You got to get that resolved. Granted, to be fair, it was pretty resolved, air quotes, pretty resolved when Trump came in office. But what mattered wasn't Q1. What mattered what was going to come next here, because the comeback nobody wanted to acknowledge And the data started moving fast, baby. In quarter two, GDP rebounded sharply. Look at this. By quarter two, GDP grew 3.8%. That is bonkers, man. That is numbers we haven't seen in quite some time. That alone should change the conversation. And I would say it has a little bit. The issue is critics just to miss that 3.8 that's on your screen. That's a fluke. Oh, I just messed up my whole screen. Hold on a second. We got to fix that. It's just a fluke, folks. Yeah, it's just a little oopsie. He didn't mean it. The issue is, no, I know. Before, right? He's reckless. He's so unhinged. Right? He's crazy guy. Just wait for it. 3.8. They're like, yeah, it's a fluke. Hey, you're gonna hit the bullseye every once in a while. Then quarter four comes, or then I think quarter four, right? Yeah. No. Then quarter three hit. Because that was quarter two. So quarter two is 3.8. Quarter three, GDP growth accelerated to 4.3%. I mean, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? And by that point, the trade war recession, right? That whole narrative. Well, that thing was on life support, man. And now, are y'all sitting down? If you're driving, I need you to pull over, all right? Do not put anything in your mouth. Gentlemen, easy with it, okay? Ladies, even more so. Y'all sitting down. I'm going to take a swig of my little coffee before I spit it out. Because this one's going to feel good. It's always nice starting the show off with good news. I got goosebumps. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of America, Bank of Atlanta, GDP growth, I'm so excited I can't even read correctly. In the final quarter of 2025, y'all ready? Is projected at a staggering, I don't even know if this number is going to be real, 5.1%. Woo, baby. Hey, I mean, damn. 5.1%? I'm drooling. I mean, Mr. President, simmer down, brother. Simmer down. Okay? I mean, the guy solved like 8 wars. He's bombed the Iranian nuclear facilities. He's extracting presidents from foreign countries. 5.1% GDP. The growth. I mean, you know, the tax cut. Like, are we getting everything? No, but I gotta say, I can't be too much of a complainer, right? I'm looking over here because I'm looking at your chat to see what you guys are saying. Could we do better on the deportation? Sure, absolutely. That's a sore spot for me. Okay, don't get me going. But I gotta say, man, it's been 1 year. It hasn't even been a year. Damn, it's just incredible. It's really incredible. The relationships we've established across seas, whether you like the guys or not, you know, the Saudis, all of them. It's just crazy, man. I mean, that's not that 5.1 is not that's not stabilization. That is expansion. That is nice. So what's driving the surge there, though? It's not really in here. Some of it is. But I want to break that down for you, give you guys a little bit more information into what's being provided here. So the growth isn't coming from the government stimulus. And the part that I really like is it's not coming from artificial like sugar highs. It's not being really manipulated as if we've seen in the past. It's being driven by domestic manufacturing, the expansion of that. You have the reshored supply chains, increased energy production, which is huge, strong consumer demand, and capital investment responding to predictable policy. And by the way, none of that is novel. None of that is rocket science. We always have to pretend, right? If we pretend, then it's like, wow, oh, that's amazing. Trump's a genius. He's a smart guy. Maybe he is a genius for all I know. But this is just natural. And I would say some of this doesn't really have to do with him. And it's hard to say that because it kind of does, because you know the guy really likes to shore up freedom of these companies to be able to flourish and kind of do what they want and do what they need. Not always, right? I'm sure you could find things where that's not true. But this is exactly what Trump argued tariffs would produce. This is what he said would happen. The trade war wasn't about punishment. It was about leverage. And I hate to say it. Leverage is working. Oh, it's big time. There's also a cost of living aspect to this. And if you've been listening to the show, this one really matters because this is what I told you guys. The midterms are going to be all about affordability. Unless Trump does something silly. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're going to be about other variables. They always are, right? You have the immigrations, the ICE stuff that's going on, all of that. But I think the big issue, and I think you would all agree with me being right on this one, because that's what's been in the headlines. I kept you 2 weeks ahead of it. I said, this is what's going to happen. And lo and behold, everyone's talking about affordability. Affordability is going to be what matters. And that's a very tough thing to change in terms of public perception, because you could do everything about affordability, but if people aren't handling their finances correctly, it don't matter. It don't matter one bit. You can have stellar GDP growth. You have a great economy. It don't matter. And Trump has his hands full. GDP doesn't matter if families feel squeezed. And that's where this whole story kind of gets a little bit more interesting, because on Monday, gas prices fell for the 7th straight week. And that's a trend driven by increased domestic production and pressure on foreign suppliers. And one thing that I think a lot of people are missing, I really do, I think a lot of people are missing this, is what's going on with the Saudis and our relationship with them. I expect after, when Trump went to the Saudis, he was doing his, Middle Eastern tour. I could be wrong, obviously. I'm some dude in a closet with a freaking hat on. I expect gas prices to increase substantially from whatever bottom they're going to be at from a year of when he had his Middle Eastern tour. I believe the deal that he made, and I have to kind of hash this out again, I think the deal that he made only lasted for a year. Now, could they keep dropping and stay lower? Absolutely, they could. I mean, if you just keep increasing, not to mention what's going on there in Venezuela, I don't know, well, we'll see. Things could really come down, which would be huge, because everything runs on energy. That's a big deal. On housing, and this is the part that's in the article, the housing part is here, is mortgage rates dropped below 6% for the first time in nearly 3 years. And that matters. The sub 6% mortgage rate doesn't help just buyers. It unlocks inventory. And some would say, I mean, there's, different people have different opinions on this, stabilizes prices and eases rental pressure downstreams. And what about rents? Well, they're now declining for the 5th consecutive month. So you're seeing a trend, which is nice. The thing is, we need that trend to continue. And I don't want this. I'm not one of those who goes, well, let's just have this continue for the midterms and then, it's fine. No. Rent is ridiculous. Housing prices are ridiculous. And quite frankly, you need to build more. You need to build higher. There's some issues with that. But with all these regulations, all the tax, right? Stuff's expensive. It's tough. I mean, it's almost impossible to build here in California. I really do mean that. People are pulling out, man. People are selling their homes and getting out of here. It's not worth. And so the reason why that's an issue is because when you have these people that have multiple properties here in California, they're usually doing pretty well, and they don't want to just stop there. They want to invest in more properties. They want to build extra rooms. They want to build extra properties on the lot, and they can't. So the issue with that is that if you could build an extra property, if you could build an extra unit, well, isn't that increasing the supply? That would help the demand. They can't do it. Gavin Newsom and all these policies, all these regulations in the state of California, this is one example of many across the United States. A lot of states, even red states, are like this. You just can't build. And they want to. People want to build. They can't do it. So it's so funny that the government, these politicians that act like they're holier than thou, they're above the rest of us, keep telling us, oh, people need to build. Yeah, we got to build more housing. We got to do housing. Yeah, why don't you get rid of all the red tape? Like the Palisades people haven't built their homes. I think there was one home that's been built in a year. Maybe let's be generous. Let's not be stupid. Maybe a dozen. Maybe a dozen. Thousands of homes burned. Buildings are gone. Thousands. 12? You built 12 in a year? Big said billionaires are leaving California. I'd get out of Dodge too, because they want to start taxing the billionaires here in this state. So this is a big deal. This Trump winning the economy, race, war, whatever you want to call it, because affordability is going to be huge, and this can't stop. This needs to go through for the rest of his term, or else we're going to get shellacked in the midterms. Well, we got more news coming up, folks. If you hit that like button, I greatly appreciate it. It does help support the show. We are one of the top news shows on Rumble in the morning slot. Not the, there's not much to brag about. There's not many people on at our time, but we put in the work, don't we? We got to find where we fit. I can't play ball against Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, these big wig guys. I don't have the talent. All righty. Well, where were we? By the way, good morning, all of you. It's good to see you in the chat. Again, you're right here. I'm looking at you. I see you, Professor Craig. Craig, did you change? You guys are always changing your name on me in the chats. Hi, Renee. The painter. All righty. Where were we? My computers are lagging. Hopefully my stream didn't drop. We're about to get into the Supreme Court hearing oral arguments in just one moment. Saw Google creators leaving California. Yeah, I also heard, why my computer's not lagging anymore. Everything's messed up here. I also heard there was rumors that Coca-Cola's getting out and that Gavin Newsom was losing his you-know-what. So, I don't know. More people are leaving, whatever. I would get out of my state too, if you could. I mean, I want you to stay here, but I figure if the more people leave, maybe things will change. The issue is that when you have people leave, it's really hard to get them back. It is really, really hard to get them back. Because you're moving your entire headquarters out of the state, right? I mean, you're getting out. You're moving your businesses out. Now to move, right? Because then not only that, it's not just moving your headquarters. I guess that's the easy part. Moving the employees that want to stay with your company out of state and having them move their entire families. And then what are you going to do? Oh, hey, it's been 5 years. We're going back to California. I need you guys to pack up again. We're going back. Yeah, that ain't happening. So Democrats are idiots is really what it comes down to. Not all of them, of course. There's a lot of smart ones that are way smarter than me. But if I'm an idiot and I'm calling them idiots, who's the real idiot? That's the question. All righty. Well, in other news here, we have SCOTUS weighs in on women's sports rather. And on Tuesday, they heard oral arguments in there's not just one, there's two closely watched cases that could fundamentally reshape women's sports. And what this would do is it would basically determine how much authority that the states actually have to protect them. At issue is a question the political class has tried to avoid for years. But the voters, parents, and even female athletes, and I would say males too, that are not wanting men and women's sports, have been forced to confront in real life. Can states legally bar biological males from competing in women's sports? Or, here's the other question, does federal law require them to allow it? Those are two big questions. Like I said, the Supreme Court isn't just hearing one case, it's hearing two. Dose. More than one. Greater than. From Idaho and West Virginia. And what it did was it consolidated both of them because they raised nearly identical questions, specifically legal questions. That alone tells you how serious all this is. These cases aren't about a single athlete or a single school district. They're about whether state governments have the authority to define and protect women's sports, or whether that authority is overridden by gender ideology embedded in federal civil rights law. The first case, I'm going to take you through both very briefly. The first case is Little v. I think it's Hecox. It's right here if you want to take a little peek. Do I have that on the screen? At the center of it is Lindsay Hecox, I think that's how you say the name, who is a biological male, but as you can imagine, identifies as a transgender woman. And what he did was challenge Idaho's Fairness in Women's Sports Act. That law was passed to ensure that female athletes are not required to compete against biological males, particularly in sports where strength, speed, and physical advantage are decisive. It'd be like ice hockey, for example, or maybe football, wrestling. And I refereed ice hockey professionally. Now, when you say professional, I got paid for it, okay? But I did like juniors and under. Juniors is like where you're moving up the ladder. Like there's junior A majors, these guys, some of them go from some of them go from juniors to the NHL. They can make that leap. So it wasn't like I was reffing these like crap people. And I'll tell you, I've seen some women try it and it's never. And I'm going to say this again. When there have been women trying to play, and I've seen it, I've been doing, since I was 7, I've been around ice hockey, roller hockey, all of it, since I was 7. It's never ended well, ever. But when you have to play make-believe to make these things work, folks. This trans guy argued that the law is discriminatory and violates federal protections, even though it applies equally to everyone based on biological sex. I mean, just think about that really quick. It's discriminatory, but the law itself applies equally. Okay, makes sense. Idaho, meanwhile, argues something much simpler. Idaho is saying women's sports exist because of biological differences, and ignoring those differences eliminates the category entirely. Correct. And by the way, Idaho's a big red state, if you didn't know. It's a big one. It's hardcore red. It's a sleeper. I always call it the sleeper state. I mean, it's the potato state. God, I love potatoes. But it's a state that I don't think gets enough recognition for the Republicans that are there. So shout out to all those in Idaho. They actually have their you-know-what together, for the most part. Everybody has issues. Everybody has problems. Okay, so that was the Idaho one. That was Little v. Hecox. I mean, what are the odds? Can we talk about the elephant in the room really quick, please? Okay. What are the odds that the title is the Idaho case, Little v. Hecox, and it's talking about a transgender woman? It's a biological male who identifies as a transgender woman, and the title of the case is Little v. Hecox. All I'm saying is whatever timeline we're living in has a humor. Whoever's running this algorithm, this AI that we're living in, this weird reality, I like their humor. I'm on board. So if they're listening, I think it's funny and I love what they're doing. The second case is West Virginia case. There's a biological male middle school athlete identified in court documents as BPJ, peanut butter and jelly. Okay, I made that last part up. It really is PBJ, but not peanut butter and jelly, okay? So I got to stop throwing things in there because you're going to think it's legit because you trust me so much. It's just PBJ. And this biological male, this middle school athlete, is asking the Supreme Court to strike down a similar state law. And the law that they're talking about bars biological males from competing on girls' sports teams in public schools. The argument is fairly familiar by now. PBJ's attorneys say that the law violates federal civil rights protections and unfairly excludes transgender identifying students. Oh. The state of West Virginia counters that by allowing biological males into girls' sports undermines fairness, safety, and the very purpose of sex-segregated athletes. somebody's asked me, do you ever think there's a place for trans people in the other sexes? Is there ever an instance where a male can compete in a female sport? I'm sure there is. It depends what you classify in sports. I'm okay with males being in cheerleading, for example. Now, I don't want them holding the pom-poms and wearing a skirt. Not into that. It's a little gross. I want to see those rockets out there, the women, with the nice bodies, they're tan, they look good. I want to see that. Look, you're allowed to look, you just can't touch. You can look. I mean, everybody looks at beautiful people. We're like, wow, we wish we could be one of them. Let's stop. Again, we always have to, I know I say it. It has to be said. We always have to act stupid. We're not allowed to say that people are pretty or beautiful or look at them. Look, some guys, they can't contain themselves and they'll drool, okay? We're animals, man. I don't want to see a burly dude with a hairy back throwing pom-poms up at the, Super Bowl. Yeah, not into it. I don't find it that appealing. And by the way, a lot of women don't find that appealing either. Believe it or not, women like seeing other women in pom-poms, doing the little cheer thing. But I do think there is a place for men because they got to throw the women up. I've seen the girls try to throw other girls up. They could do it. It's not as good. And, for safety, you just want a strong man that's ripped, that just cradles you as you fall. So I think there is to put the silliness aside, I really do think there is a place for men and women's sports, but I think it's more of like a supporting role or, maybe ping pong or something. But even then, guys rip that ball, man. So it's maybe chess, checkers. Are those sports? I suppose those sports, things like that. I think you can make a case that there could be men and women's sports, but anything physical, heck no. No, sir. I've seen it, man. And don't get me wrong. There are some burly women out there. There are some Nordic women, dude, that are some big dogs, like Chicago Brown linebackers, playing center tackle. There's some big women that could fill that void. Trust me. But even them, there is always going to be someone bigger, and they're going to get trounced on big time. Why did the Kirk, by the way, I miss Charlie Kirk, but why did the court merge the cases? They could solve these cases for a reason, because they raise the same fundamental legal question. Does the federal law require states to treat gender identity as equivalent biological sex, even athletics? Or does the state remain the authority to draw decisions and distinctions based on biology when protecting women's sports? It's a tough one for me because I always like leaving things up to the states. I'm not a big fan of passing the power onto the federal government for everything, making everything federal law. That's why I liked how abortion went to the state level. Allow the states to decide. The reason why is because that gives more power back to the people. The president only has so much authority, right? I mean, obviously you have 3 branches of government. They're all checks and balances. But you're almost, to get what you want, you're almost needing the stars to align for you to get everything that you want, which is very frustrating right now, by the way. Kind of on a side note, is that we have all 3 branches of government basically. We can't do everything we want because there's an issue with that, but that's for the votes. But we're not getting much done, which is frustrating. It's a whole nother topic of conversation. But anyways, there's the 2 cases. We'll see what happens if it goes to the states or if it goes to the federal government. I wanted to bring that on your guys' radar. So we have a few big cases then as of right now. I mean, there's the two that are huge is you'll have a decision on birthright citizenship. Hopefully they did hear it. The case was heard a couple months ago, so that should be coming out this year. And then you have men and women's sports. The reason why I say hopefully, hey, good morning, Goer. How are you doing? The reason why I say hopefully is because there are times where they heard the case, but they didn't come to really much of a decision. And they're like, we'll just kind of move forward on this one. There's not really much going on. So don't need an angry kitty. What the hell are we talking about? Craig, are you drinking again in the morning? Oh, I love our regulars. We're moving on to our next story here, folks. If you hit that like button, would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all the support you guys show. Always appreciate reading your guys' chats. It's funny because it's actually more enjoyable me reading while I'm talking, because you guys say weird things. I miss you, Jeff, by the way. Jeff, I did get your Discord message the other day. I completely dropped the ball on that. Right when I saw your message, I just remembered that you messaged me. I miss you, Jeff. I hope you're doing well, brother. I really do miss you. Alrighty. Well, we're moving on to Tim Walz. Governor Tim Pawlenty talks Minnesota fraud and ICE. Uh-oh, here we go. In Minneapolis, protests have erupted in the wake of, I'm putting in air quotes for those on audio, controversial federal immigration operation. It's not controversial. They are required to uphold the law. They took an oath to uphold the law. This isn't difficult, but for some reason, we have to be stupid and act like it's difficult. They are mandated to uphold the law. And I think that they should. That is the job of the executive branch. And I've told you, that was one of my qualms with Trump, was by Congress. Congress said that TikTok should be basically deleted or removed. As much as I like TikTok, I think it's a destructive nature, but sometimes destructive nature is fun. Drama, people love those reality TV shows, drama shows. That's like TikTok. Congress said TikTok needs to basically be banned, and Trump didn't do it. I had a qualm with that because that's not how you don't just get to pick and choose what you want to do away with and what you want to keep. That doesn't fly with me. That's one of my qualms with Trump is he should have done away with it. He should have banned it. It is what it is. I mean, it sucks because a lot of people make their whole business, their whole life, their whole money on that. But the law is the law, and I'm a rule follower. Doesn't mean I don't break the law. Doesn't mean I don't speed. I don't jaywalk every now and then. Like I do stuff like that. But I mean, in terms of these big stuff, I keep things, pretty kosher. What's unfolding amid a massive federal investigation into alleged social service and immigration fraud in Minnesota, a probe that President Trump has dramatically expanded by sending thousands of agents to the state. You have former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty joining Daily Wire's Morning Wire show to break down what he believes is driving the unrest, and he pinned much of the tension on Minnesota's sanctuary policies and the political fallout from them. You have the federal enforcement sweep. So federal agencies led by ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and Homeland Security investigations have deployed more than 2,000 agents to Minnesota in an effort officials call Operation Metro Surge, described by DHS as the largest immigration enforcement operation in state history. I mean, to be fair, there's not really much that goes on in Minnesota other than hockey. That's really it. I mean, what else do you know Minnesota for? Anybody in the chat? Hey, what's going on, Keith? Thank you. Keith says, go, Brad. Thank you. Hundreds of arrests have already been made. You also have, of those hundreds of arrests, that included alleged criminal offenders and violations tied to immigration status, as the federal government clamps down on what it describes as widespread fraud and other unlawful activity. That crackdown comes alongside separate investigations into suspected social service fraud, which we've covered here, and so did Nick Shirley, and everybody else is now talking about it, which federal prosecutors now say could total billions of dollars. I love how they put could. Come on. Look, it says right here in the article. Do I have the article up for you guys? Yeah, I do. I'd look at a different thing for to see your guys' chat. The social service fraud in the state could be as high as $9 billion or more. Could be the largest theft or fraud of public money in the history of our country. No, it's not. No, it's. Oh, I know a place. I know a place very well that would just 9 billion. 9 billion? Come on. Anybody want to guess what state just might dwarf that 9 billion or more number? Anybody just want to throw it in the chat on the state that I'm thinking of? And just, there's other ones out there, but I think the top one, just throw it in the chat. What state would totally blow this out of the water, and I don't think anybody would ever touch it. And by touch it, I mean, it's such a record, I don't think anybody would ever beat it. Not in my lifetime. We'll wait. I think somebody will throw it in there. The scale of federal response and the sheer number of law enforcement personnel on the ground has Minnesota on a national spotlight. And it's kind of shifted with the ICE stuff with what happened to that lady for trying to run over a police officer. Yes, everybody's saying California, California, exactly. Yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. Oh, there's a lot here. $9 billion. I laughed. Illegals get more than $9 billion in healthcare. Give me a break. Come on. This is a drop in a bucket for us here. Tensions in Minnesota reached a boiling point after you saw that ICE deleted that individual during an immigration enforcement encounter. And that deletion, which the Department of Homeland Security has described as self-defense, and it does look and appear to be self-defense, was captured on video and disputed by local leaders, of course, because they're Democrats, sparking protests, vigils, and widespread outrage. State and city officials, including Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, have filed a lawsuit against the federal government, arguing, this is the argument, the ICE surge violates constitutional rights and that DHS actions have been heavily handed. I think you're going to lose that one, Keith. The legal battle now extends beyond the streets as Minnesota and other local governments seek to block further federal enforcement activity in their jurisdictions. Isn't that crazy? You vote to have people protect your rights, not the rights of illegal immigrants. And they will protect the rights of illegal immigrants over your rights as an actual American. I mean, everything's so ass backwards in these Democrat states. There was something I was thinking about. I almost did a short on it, like a shorts video on YouTube and then TikTok. I was driving. This was like literally yesterday or the day before. And I literally got right into my car and I started it up. And I just thought, I go, you know, why are we surprised by what Democrats are doing? Like the fraud or the illegal immigration, just all the stuff. Like getting behind the Maryland man, like going to a whole nother country to meet with them. Because I was thinking, like, you know, we did act a little bit surprised, like, oh my God, you know, look at they're going to a Maryland guy, they're gonna, you know, try to get him out. Oh, they're always advocating for illegal immigrants. But then I was thinking, this is how that party has always been. They've always advocated for the criminal stuff. Like to advance criminal activity or like evil or wrongdoing stuff. I know it seems so simple, but it like, I've always talked about, right, the Klan, they've been the creator of the Klan, slavery, they wanted to keep slavery going. Quite frankly, some of them still do. All those things. You know, they're like, oh, you know, back then, right, who's going to pick my cotton and make my clothes? Who's going to make me supper? And now they're like, well, who's going to pick my food? Who's going to make me supper, right? They're still doing the same stuff. But I'm like, why are we shocked? This party, since its inception, if you go back in history, has always advocated for criminal activity. Always. It's true. I'm not saying in every case, but damn, man. Pretty much. Pretty much. Where was I? Oh, I got to look through my notes here. Oh, okay. So local leaders like Minnesota Mayor Jacob Frey, that guy's just as weird as Tim Wallace's, man, has blasted the federal response as times using blunt language to reject the administration's narrative and urge federal agents to leave the city, right? He used explicitives because when you say the F word, you know, you sound more cool. Yeah, no, you're more serious, right? Remember when he didn't have the tie on, you know, and he's all loose like he's working really hard? Dude's working so hard, he's allowed billions in fraud to happen in his state. Oh, yeah. No, you're working hard over there, Jacob. Jacob Frey. Hey, working real hard. Really working hard to rip off American citizens is what you're doing. And you know what? They'll vote him back in. No, they love this stuff. How do I know? Because I live in California. I see the fraud. You kidding me? Oh, where $40 million go, Gavin? Don't know. Yeah. Oh. Don't worry. They'll spend all their time, oh, Trump's terrible. Trump's a bad man. Hey, how about you guys clean up your own mess in your own state? I mean, you're Minnesota. There's not much going on there other than fraud. So now you're known for two things. You are known for fraud and hockey. That's literally it. That's what your state is known for. Wow. Incredible. Now, don't get me wrong. I ain't throwing shade just at Minnesota. I also talk a lot of crap about my own state because I've lived here my entire life. It is an amazing state that I live in. I'm sorry, you guys. If we didn't have all this crap going on caused by Democrats, we would be the best state in the union. We have the best weather. We got the ports here. It is true. We got the economy. You can go surfing, snowboarding. You could do all sports, both summer and winter, in the same day. You could literally start off by surfing in the morning. You can go to the mountains and snowboard. You can come back and start going in the desert to do like dune buggies and stuff like that. We are the best state. I know you guys love your states, but we are. Democrats are just ruining it. And I'm holding out, man. I'm sitting here on the front lines, lock and key, because not only do I want this state to become great again, but obviously I want our country to become great again. And I think we are becoming great again with Donald Trump in office. We still have a lot more work to do. Where was I at here? I always lose. When I go on these tangents, my show notes, I always forget where I'm at. Oh, yeah, you got these protests going on in Minneapolis. You know, these guys are standing outside acting like idiots. Those are intensifying. Demonstrators have squared off with federal agents. There have been reports of fireworks and clash near federal facilities. You got tear gas used in some confrontations. And the unrest has spread beyond Minneapolis. Now you got these rallies and demonstrations in other cities reflecting broader opposition to the federal immigration campaign and concerns over public safety. What you have is Tim Pawlenty, the former governor, saying that in his belief that he's connecting these protests and backlash to state sanctuary policies. He's arguing that these policies are shielding undocumented immigrants and limiting cooperation between local law enforcement and federal authorities. And he's 100% correct on that. And Tim Walz, the current governor, doesn't even dispute that. Tim Walz has said that there is no communication between the two. And this would have helped create an environment where fraud and criminal activity could flourish without robust oversight. The issue is, whenever you tell a Democrat something, well, they just rat you out and will go tell the people that are breaking the law that you got the actual enforcement coming down upon them to get out of Dodge. So you tell a Democrat something, well, they'll go rat you out and, go support the criminal activity. They've always done that. That is nothing new. So I'm not going to play stupid as if it's something new. You Democrats have always done stuff like this. And their stupid response, oh, you guys did January 6th and you have a felon in the White House. Well, we've had a lot of felons in the White House. If you look at the earlier American history, a lot of those guys that were running government and Congress were all felons. Yeah, it turns out that they went against their own government. They went against their own king. Yeah. It turns out there's been a lot of felons. Uh-huh. But because you got to get, it's funny because when you ask them, oh, what was the felony? What was the felony that they did? One, either they don't know the 34 felony counts, or two, when they do know, they don't want to say it because it's so stupid. Because you got the guy in a paperwork issue. Oh, wow. Oh, paperwork. Yeah. Paperwork. I know the guy spelt his name wrong. Yeah. Yeah. He put Donald instead of Don. Ooh, good. Where's one count? There's one of the 34. Oh, what a buffoon, huh? All the while Joe Biden couldn't even write his own damn name. How about that being a felony? Using the auto pen to put forth stuff that's not even legally allowed. Yeah. Guy couldn't even write his own name. You're going to get after Donald Trump for paperwork. Guy runs multiple businesses in the tunes of billions of dollars, and you got him on some paperwork. Think about all the paperwork that guy's had to push. Think about all the paperwork that guy's had to sign off on. He made a couple errors. Oh, felonies. Yeah. The guy allegedly paid off a prostitute and his lawyer, and he talked to his lawyer about it. And they put it as a legal expense. Terrible. I know. Gee, yeah, it turns out I guess you can't talk to your lawyers anymore, you guys, and write it off as an expense as a lawyer fee. Weird. Anyways, the backdrop to all of this is a sprawling investigation in social service fraud, especially stemming from the child care and welfare programs in Minnesota. Now, prosecutors in this article, as you can see, allege that it's as much as $9 billion or more, and could have been wrongfully claimed through fraudulent organizations and providers. My question is, has anybody seen anybody get arrested or any sort of anything happen with this? All I've heard is, oh yeah, this was happening. That's it. That's all I've heard. Now, there are allegedly federal law enforcement sources said the fraud probe, which is the Operation Metro Surge, is linked to spanning to multiple programs and jurisdiction, has prompted the expanded federal response. So that comes from the New York Post. I mean, maybe there is a bigger investigation at large. It seems like there clearly is. They have a whole operation name for it. And they're going, this is way bigger than we thought. We need to bring in more hands. We'll see what comes of it. I mean, I haven't seen Pam Bondi really do it. I haven't seen anybody do anything in terms of the justice system other than going after conservative Republicans for the last 2 decades. When you're a Democrat, it don't matter what happens. You can do anything, which is why they're doing it, because nothing ever happens to them. We need to change that. We need to change that. So that's what's going on over there in Minneapolis. Well, let's go to Twitter for a little bit here and see what's going on and happening on that end. It's kind of the rest of my show notes that's happening. Of course, you have the knuckleheads still over there in Minneapolis screaming at law enforcement. It's so fascinating that, do y'all remember when they were going after Elon Musk? I always find it interesting that they just need somebody to scream at. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes, when people need to get their anger and aggression out because their life sucks or whatever, they go to those places where you could smash a vehicle. You take a sledgehammer to it. Or, some guys will go to the gym. They'll just start running a boxing ring and, just get their stuff out that way. Or something, how I get my frustrations. I always get asked this, like, how do you deal with stress? Like, how do you manage, busy life or whatever? I smoke a cigar and have a glass of whiskey. If I'm stressed, I will smoke a cigar and have a glass of whiskey, and I'm good for a month, at least. At least. It doesn't take much. Guys are simple. These liberal white women, though, are not simple. Let me tell you, they are psychos. I want to bring it back to the Tesla thing really quick. I bring it up because if you notice, these liberal white women are predominantly the ones that are screaming at ICE, right? Some oddly way, they're always old. They're like boomers. They don't have jobs. They're maybe retired that we're funding. Like 6 months ago, because they didn't have ICE to yell at, they didn't have anybody to scream at. They were screaming at Teslas. Do you guys remember that? There'll be a Tesla. They'll be out there protesting out front of a Tesla facility. And there'll be a Tesla driving down the street. Just a random dude. Don't even know who's inside the car because it's tinted. And they're like, fuck you. Fuck you. You Nazi. You fascist. Fuck you. Right? And then if they could, they'll shit in their hand and they'll throw it at it. Do you guys remember that? That is all real. And that happened locally for me. That is, I don't drive a Tesla, but I saw it. I saw all these psychos. You Nazi. All the while they're pro-socialists. I always love that. I always love how a dude is wearing a I'm a socialist shirt. You know what I'm talking about? Nazi. It's like, bro, you're wearing a socialist shirt, you idiot. So anyways, that was happening. I just find it funny, they just always need somebody to get their aggression out, and they just point it towards their it could be a car. It could literally be a car. I mean, if Elon Musk started planting trees, I'm sure they would go out and they'd start screaming at the tree, "Fuck you, man," and start punching it, right? They're just, dude, they're not mentally well. They really are, dude. When you find yourself screaming at a car and then putting your fingies in your butt and you're wiping it on cars like Teslas, I don't care what you tell me, I will never think that you are okay. Ever. And because we have to act stupid, we have to pretend like that stuff's normal. Remember how it was so rare driving down the street to hear a guy talking to himself? And then you would, your kid's like, his face is glued to the window, right? He's like, Mommy, who's that guy talking to? And then it was like a life moment for you because you're the kid in the back seat at a young age with your face just pressed up to the window. What the fuck is that guy doing, Mom? And then you got to have a life teaching moment. Well, honey, that guy's crazy. You want to stay away from people like that. Don't ever get in the van with them. It's a good teaching moment. Nowadays, hey, Mom, why is that lady throwing caca at our car? Why is she screaming at me? Now you have to go, well, she's just out there. She's just an activist protesting, doing her rights. You know what I mean? We went from going, stay away from that person. That person's crazy, will probably harm you, will probably cause you severe bodily mental harm to, well, she's just out there protesting, making life easy for herself, doing what's right. You know, so it's like, how did we get to that point where we're advocating now for crazy? That's what happens when you normalize things, though. When you normalize craziness, what happens? People think it's normal. And it's going to get hard to get back to that person should be institutionalized. Why? Because they're cocking in their hand and throwing it at drive-byers, man. Yeah, I think that's a little crazy, but the left does it. That's a normal thing. You want to know who does that? Babies do that. Babies dig in their diaper and they throw doo-doo around. Yes, they do. Some of you know what I'm talking about. All righty. Well, what's going on here? Let's see what's trending here. I got a couple minutes to kill. Let's do it. See what's happening. Actually, there's nothing really trending right now. You still have the Supreme Court case. That's what's going on. Trump deploys more feds to Minnesota. We covered that. Trump briefed military on Iran operation. So this is live. Let's see what we got going on here. Excuse me. This is 6 minutes ago. Wow, man, that's gotten bad if that's true. So for those on audio, 12,000 Iranian protesters have been deleted allegedly. The last I heard, and this was probably, say Tuesday, maybe Saturday, I heard this news. This came from Patrick Bet-David, who knows people inside Iran right now. And he said his sources who are really, really credible and high up and that he trusts. He said the low number was 400, about 400, 450 to in the thousands, but it wasn't anywhere near 12,000. I want to say, and I don't want to butcher it because it's his quote, and I'm totally, I want to say it was like 4,000 or 4,500 people. He said it was like the high end of it. If it's 12,000, man, that's awful. The estimated death toll among Iranian anti-regime protesters has reached 12,000, according to Iran International. And I guess it was in a Farsi language news outlet funded by Saudi Arabia. So you got to be a little bit careful with that. Other human rights organizations have confirmed that protesters were shot by security forces, and videos circulating online show facilities overwhelmed with bodies. Whoa. With families attempting to identify their loved ones. Man. Information is beginning to emerge as limited cell phone service has been partially restored across Iran. Residents can make phone calls, but text messages and internet access remain cut off. The country has been largely offline for nearly 6 days, severely restricting the flow of independent information. The problem is that it's going to come out at some point because once the access is restored, I mean, all that pent up information is just going to, flood channels. 12 hours ago, Trump briefed on new military strike operations or options in Iran. President Trump was briefed Monday on a range of military options related to Iran, according to multiple reports. The New York Times reported that the options include potential strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities and ballistic missile sites, while the Wall Street Journal said the president is expected to review additional options on Tuesday. So far, there is no indication the U.S. military assets are being repositioned to the region, a step that would typically signal preparations for action. Trump did announce, I did TikTok on this yesterday, Trump announced a new economic measure, including a 25% penalty. This is a big one, actually. 25% penalty on countries that continue doing business with Iran. Officials have also signaled that cyber attacks remain a available option. Now, how would you all feel? Let's always go to the chat. How would you all feel if Donald Trump did some military operations in Iran. Just say yes that you're for it, no meaning you're not for it. Look, wait, what does it say? Look at the ad over Brad's head. Oh my God, what's over my head? Hold on a second. What we got? Matt Walsh. What does it say? What is a woman? One man's journey to answer the question. Yeah, really good. Matt Walsh. I love Matt. Oh, people are saying yes. Really? Oh, I don't. Okay, that's surprising. I didn't think you guys would say yes. This is one of those scenarios where I differ from my audience. So we've encountered this before, where majority of you were for something and I was the complete opposite. But isn't that great that our side, we don't alienate each other for having differing viewpoints? Because if we're on the left, right, then you just cannibalize each other and you start going after each other, right? I am actually against military strikes in Iran right now. I think I get where you guys are coming from. Don't get me wrong. I totally understand. By the way, there is an argument to be had that while there's this escalation and unrest, now would be the time to go after the nuclear facilities. If that was what you meant by military strike. I'm not for it because I'm a big fan of people need to figure out their own stuff in their own country. It's a little bit tough, to be fair, because they don't have weapons as citizens. Good life lesson of, hey, that's why you want to have firearms in case your government goes usurpacious on you. Should probably have those. But I'm not a big fan of doing the military op. Some say, well, isn't that hypocritical? Weren't you a fan of getting rid of Maduro? Yeah, but he was also a criminal that needed to be extracted. That's why he's in court in New York. He's supposed to be here for his court date. He didn't. Trump's an amazing person. Trump will go and actually fly you out of your country and make sure you show up to your court dates on time. It's incredible. Incredible. It's actually a really funny joke, and I'm totally going to butcher it, but it's, let me see if I can find it really quick. Really, really, really quick. I would love to end on this if we could. Let me see if I can find it. I forgot the guy's name, but it's a really good Trump joke that just came out, and it had to do with Maduro. See if I can find it for y'all really quick. Give me un momento. If I can't, that's okay. I'll try to give the joke, but I know I'm gonna butcher it. Yeah, it was basically along the lines of Donald Trump is so against immigration, but he's willing to bring an immigrant into the country like Maduro. I butchered it, but I can't find the joke itself. Somebody recorded on their cell phone for a guy, and it was pretty funny. But anyways, that's the end of today's episode. We'll be back here tomorrow, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, for another episode of the Bald Brad Show, where we just basically bring you the news. So there is obviously a conservative bias in it, but for the most part, we just kind of talk about what's going on out there. And there is, as you notice, my logo has changed for the thumbnail. I am thinking about just switching the show from not talking about being just a conservative, but more or less just bringing you the news more than anything. There'll always be that conservative. I mean, my conservatism is not going to change, but just kind of more or less bringing the news, because that's kind of what we're doing here. Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for saying great show. God bless you. If you're new here, hit that follow button. We'll be back here tomorrow, 6 a.m. Always appreciate you guys showing up. Have a blessed day. Pray for this country. Pray for Donald Trump. Pray for your family. Pray for the loved ones in the chat. And let's pray for peace, man. There's a lot of stuff going on out there. With that being said, have a blessed day, Patriots. Take care.